recently obviously announced that Terry Flanagan will make his first defence of his WBO lightweight crown on the 10th of October, Manchester Arena, and he will have to face his mandatory challenger.
Yeah, WBO have ordered that. He's got to fight Diego Magdeleno, who's with Bob Arum. We've done a deal, so Magdeleno's coming here, and it's a tough fight for Terry. You know, for his first defence, it's a tough fight, but you know, I think Terry's a very capable fighter. I've got a lot of faith in him, and I think it's a winnable fight for him. But it will not be easy. It will not be easy. They do fancy themselves. Was
there no time frame to slip in a voluntary in before that?
No, it's just impossible to do. And obviously, the fight that we were trying to make was against him and Derry Matthews, but you know that can't be done. And Derry and him would have been a fantastic fight for the Northwest, and you know, Liverpool, Manchester, and so forth. It had everything going for it. But hopefully, we can do that down the road.
Obviously, with this WBA situation, Derry's been ordered to fight who he was meant to fight before in Ismael Barrosa.
Yeah.
So will that fight likely to take place on that card?
I don't know yet, because we may have to go to purse bids, because at the moment the money they're asking for, you'd think they were the world champions. Remember, this is an interim type of fight. But we'll see what happens, and that'll pan out this week to see, you know, whether it's going to go for purse bids or we'll reach an agreement between both camps.
So, I mean, obviously the idea behind, obviously Flanagan's got one world title, Derry's chasing the WBA, obviously version of it. So, in an ideal scenario, you know, you'll have two of the lightweight world champions.
That's quite right what you're saying. For me, an ideal scenario is to get the best fighting each other, to get the two of them fight each other. Let's find out who's the best out of them two. You know, I went out last week in my column and I said that I felt that, you know, that Terry Flanagan, and I said that Liam Walsh is stepping up a weight, and I left out Derry. Actually, I don't know why, it's a remiss of me, but you know, for me, you know, they are quality fighters. They've done the business, and I know that our competitors have got their guys. And I was complaining about the Sky ratings. I couldn't see how they made Ricky Burns #1. I just don't get that, you know, and there's nothing to do with, you know, the fact he's not with me anymore, but he just isn't #1 for me in that division with these guys. I think they're up and coming, and he's been on the slide, and that's how it is. And that was what my gripe was about that. And you've obviously got Crolla, who's a decent fighter, a good fighter, but I just think that they're better fighters. I mean, we know Derry's already got one over on him. He's beaten him. I think Terry Flanagan would beat Crolla, and I think they're much better. And I do think that the most underestimated fighter as well is Liam Walsh, who was at one stage going to fight Ricky Burns, if you remember, before he had a car accident a couple of years ago, and people forget about that. So it's a lively division. It's great for the Brits. We've all got our opinions, and I've got mine. Other people have got theirs, and the fans have got theirs. But that's what makes good fights. So to get the fights on, we don't all sit around having, we've got 4 versions or 3 versions of the title. We want to get them all in the ring together and fight. Let's see who's the best guy. Let's see who's the best in Britain, not who's the best in the world.
So obviously recently Luke Campbell fought Tommy Cole, 2 other lightweights, and obviously Ricky Burns was also on that bill.
Yeah.
But obviously the news of Anthony Crolla's rematch, do you kind of feel with your stable that the Terry Flanagan and Derry Matthews are not getting the same recognition, considering that Terry Flanagan is the world champion out of the lot of them?
Sky are biased, and you would say I'm biased. I try not to be biased, but Sky are biased. Their commentary's biased. I think those fights that last weekend were very, was it the weekend before? I think the commentary is very biased. The ratings were biased. You know, Luke Campbell is a nice fighter. He's a great advert for the game. He's done everything as an amateur, and he's a nice boy. But please, he's got a long way to go. He fought Tommy Coyle. How is that an eliminator for the world title? And no offence against Coyle. He's a good fighter. He's and I'm not being using a disrespectful term like journeyman. But please, let's not, turn it into something it's not. And he's got a long way to go yet, Luke Campbell. You can't put him in with these guys yet. I wouldn't do it. And I've got to tell you, he ain't ready for it. And I bet more than anybody, he knows that, and his trainer knows that. But he's going to take him more time to get where he is. But please, let's not start talking about that. Ricky Burns for me is what I would in an ideal world again. you know, if we couldn't get the fight on with Derry Matthews and if it was Magdeleno, I'd make that in a heartbeat. That as a first defence for Terry Flanagan. Fancy my man big time for it. You know, Ricky Burns was a really good fighter who done well at a certain period in his time. He's got mileage on his clock now. He's had some tough fights, some hard fights, and it shows. You know, and let's not all get carried away. Somebody threw a towel in the ring. You know, and I don't know why that towel come in anyway. Since when could you stop fights when towels are thrown in the ring?
I didn't think that was actually allowed.
It's not allowed.
Oh.
And that goes back to years ago when people, you know, we used to have betting at ringside and someone would sling a towel in to stop the fight and things like that. So that's why that's not allowed. It's up to the referee or in some cases a doctor. So I don't even know why the fight was stopped. But irrespective of that, you know, there's some good youngsters around. Ricky Burns is there. He's, you know, I'm sure he's still in the mix. But please, let's not get carried away. Luke Campbell and Ricky Burns is a good fight. That's a good little decent fight for Luke Campbell right now. But you know, and as I say, everybody's got their opinion and their views, and they're entitled to them. But you know, I think that sometimes you know it's like because it's not on Sky, it gets disregarded by their commentary team. And remember, they're a big PR. It's a PR marketing thing with them. Bang, bang, bang. This is where it is. This is where it's at. These are the fighters, and the rest don't count. Well, that's not right, and it isn't right. We don't do that. You know. We don't do that. We don't disregard guys. We know that we just don't do that. And I just feel that, you know, give the recognition where it's due. And as I say, you know, I said myself, you know, Crolla, I thought he won that fight. He's got his rematch, and I hope he's got his rematch, and he can go and do what he's got to do.
But obviously, with the lightweights domestically, kind of split between two.
Well, put some sealed purse bids in. I said that to you last time.
I know, but you
I've got a problem. Listen, we know.
But realistically, is it that's not likely to happen, is it?
Why?
Really? Well,
Why
I'm just saying.
why
Hasn't it happened?
Why? Because Sky won't have not let it happen. The Matron not let it happen. I'll let it happen. BoxNation will let it happen. Let the winners fight each other. I ain't got a problem with that. Why wouldn't you have a problem with that? Find out who's the best. Whatever the winner is, one's going to go one way, one's going to go the other. It's not the end of the world for the loser anyway. But why wouldn't you do that? You know, it's a no-brainer.
What is it in theory?
Would you not think so?
It's a fit in theory.
What do you do? You can sit there. You take the two envelopes and you open up the envelopes. The winning envelope gets the fight. It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer.
Why can't you make moves to do that then?
Well, I just have. I just told you. I'm telling your audience. That's what we're prepared to do. For the second time, I'm telling them. I've just had no response back. So there you go. I'm telling them. What do you want me to do? I can put an advert in a newspaper. But this is what you and I are talking about is for is people who are interested in boxing, watch boxing, and are interested in may or may not be interested in what I've got to say, what you've got to say. So they're watching. So they know our position. Our position is as follows. Any of those fights they want to make, I've got no problem putting a sealed bid in an envelope, and the winner gets the fight.
Because between your camp and their camp, there must be about 10 fights that you could make between the lightweight.
Well, let's try and if some of them can be sorted out. It's very simple. It's not rocket science, is it? 2 envelopes. I write my bid down 10 quid. They write their bid down 15 quid as they talk, whatever it is. In the envelope, winning promoter gets the bid. We get the fight on.
So just to see, in hypothetically, if Crolla is to beat Perez, if Derry, whenever that is to fight Barossa and beat Barossa, and then that is put into a situation, then that fight will have to take place.
Well, it's going to be a purse bid, isn't it?
Purse bid situation.
So it's a purse bid. So rather than get anybody else involved, we can do it between us. Get on with it.
Nice sensible thing to do.
I think so. Bit of sense at last. Now, in my old age, I'm getting sensible.